Hi everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Brianna and today we are filming the first video in my European summer series, and that is the pre-Europe Q&A. I am excited for this video because since I'm filming this video, it means that the Europe trip is right around the corner. I am filming this on June 30th, which means that the Europe trip is 3 days away. I leave on July 4th, so technically 4 days away, but the least amount of days, the better. And I'm just really excited. It's gonna be a fun video. We've got a fun series ahead of us, which I'm excited about because I haven't had the chance ever to really like vlog in Europe because I haven't had the opportunity to go with work, with COVID and things like that. So I'm very excited for today's video. But if you're new and want to stick around, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and give the video a big thumbs up. If you like this kind of style and if you are excited for the European summer series, we've got a ton of vlogs coming, all within Europe, all within beautiful towns in Europe. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. So with that being said, let's dive into the European summer series first video, and that is my pre-Europe trip Q&A. Now, let me tell you guys came through with the questions, so I went ahead over on my Instagram. If you're not following there, please feel free to do so. It's just at Brianna Tata, and I went ahead and asked you guys what questions you had because I was gonna be filming a sit-down kind of Q&A pre-Europe, and let me tell you, you guys came through with the questions. So many awesome questions, so we're gonna go through all of them today. The first two questions that were the most asked, which we're just gonna get them right out of the way right now. The first question is, Brianna, where are you going in Europe and how long are you going for? So I am going to Europe for 25 days, I think it is, 20 days. I don't exactly remember the date count, but it's about 3 weeks, and I am headed to Italy, France, Spain, Germany, and then back to Italy again. So I'm very excited. In terms of towns that I'm going to be flying into Milan, heading down to the coast of Cinque Terre, which is the 5 little towns in northern Italy, and then I'm heading to Monaco, the French Riviera, Nice, Barcelona, then heading over to Berlin in Germany for a work leadership conference that I'll be there for a week for, and then going from Berlin back to Milan because that's where I'm gonna meet my fiance Corey, and we are gonna do a week in Italy together. We're doing a day in Milan, I think 4 or 5 days in the Cinque Terre, and then back for 1 more day in Milan, and then we're leaving. So I'm very excited. That's where I'm heading this summer. It is going to be beautiful. It is all on the Mediterranean coast except for Germany, right? Germany's not on the Mediterranean coast, but I really wanted something warm, and I don't want to use the word tropical, but very coastline. That's kind of what I was looking for this summer. And I am traveling the first 2 weeks for work. I get that question a lot as well. I am traveling the first 2 weeks for work, and then the last week is more leisure and vacation with Corey, but still gonna be vlogging and taking you along on the entire thing. The other question was, are you going to be vlogging? Are you taking us along? Are you vlogging your trip? The answer to that is yes. It just might be sporadic for the first 2 weeks because of the way that it works with work. We have a lot of free days on our trip and other days not too many free days. So my hope is that I'm gonna try to compile a good amount of vlogs in every single country and kind of clump them together. So the Italy vlog will be one, the France vlog will be one, even though it's 2 or 3 different cities, and then Barcelona will be its own vlog. Berlin, Germany, probably won't vlog at all there because that's very much like work heavy and leadership conference focused. But then when we're in Italy, Corey and I, we will be vlogging the entire thing, morning through night. Each day will have its own vlog, so we're very excited for that one as well. Alrighty, so now let's dive into some more nitty-gritty questions that you guys had asked, a little bit more one-off, and again, a lot of these, some were repetitive, but again, thank you all for the questions. The first one is, and in no particular order, we're just kind of going through here, tips for someone going to Europe for the first time, planning a 2024 trip. I would say my 2 biggest tips for someone that is going to Europe for the first time is, number 1, pack smart. You do not need as much as you think, and in Europe the hotels are more boutique style unless you're staying at hotels that have, you know, central air conditioning, elevators, and less stairs and all that. Europe is not like America. Americans want to take everything old down and build brand new and big. Europe really loves their boutique style hotels. They're smaller, they're more quaint. Europe wants to keep its originality and its Europe-esque-ness about it, so they're not tearing down what's old, they're just like renovating little pockets of it. So I would say number 1 is just pack light and pack smart. You don't want to be lugging your checked bag throughout cities because it's just way too much. And then I would say my second tip for traveling internationally for the first time is be flexible but plan, if that makes sense. So I'll give a little bit of like context for that. You want to plan. You don't want to just kind of like wander throughout the city. You want to do a little bit of your research, find restaurants that are local, find things that people say are the, you know, the best of the best. Do a little bit of wandering as well and kind of stumble upon things, but you want to plan. You know, Europe is a big deal. It's not just driving down the street in your town or doing something domestically. It's a big undertaking to go to a different country. You never know if you'll be back, so you want to make sure that you're doing that research. And then the second tip though is still being flexible. There is no trip under the sun that goes as planned, especially when you're in Europe. There's gonna be a language barrier. You're gonna have to figure out transportation. You know, a restaurant that you wanted to maybe stumble upon might be full. You might not be able to get into it. So just being ever flexible, I would say, is so important. I'm also gonna move the camera just a smidge because that little off-centerness, you guys, is driving me nuts. All right, much better. So I would say those are just 2 overall tips that I have. I can do an entire deep dive video in tips and tricks that I have for traveling in Europe. Comment down below if you want to see that, because I can definitely do something like that as well. The next question was, what's your Europe itinerary? I went through that, but I'll just give a high level again. I'm flying into Milan, going to Cinque Terre, then we're heading down to the French Riviera, so Nice and Monaco, and then we head over to Barcelona, and then from Barcelona I'm flying from there to Berlin, Germany for a week for our leadership conference, and then from there I'll be headed from Berlin back to Milan to do a day in Milan, 4 days in Cinque Terre again with my fiance Corey, back up to Milan for a day, and then we're flying out. So that's the itinerary. Very excited, like I said, Mediterranean coastline, and it's going to be absolutely stunning. Next is, are you going to do a travel plan with me video for your Europe trip? No, only because the first 2 weeks are work related, so I didn't plan any of that, right? Work does that, and we go on these market discovery tours with work. However, as we come back and we have already done the trip, I'm more than happy to share an entire separate video on just how we plan for international travel. You know, I do a lot of the planning. Corey just is along for the ride, which I'm very grateful for. There's a little bit of him that wants to do things too, so I let him do what he wants, but for the most part, I love planning and I love doing that kind of stuff. So for the most part, I do the planning. Again, comment below, do you want to see an entire planning video on what goes in when I do an international trip with Corey and we're taking a trip like that? Because I am happy to share that just in a separate video. I won't be doing an entire one for this because the beginning of it is majority work. The next question was, what are you most looking forward to seeing and doing on your upcoming Europe trip? I'll pick 2. Actually, I'll pick 3. The first thing is I'm actually traveling with one of my nearest and dearest friends from work, Rachel. So we are traveling together for the first 2 weeks of this trip. So I am so looking forward to traveling with someone that I am so close with. We've roomed together before. We're extremely close. We're like best friends. So I feel like that is going to be amazing. I'm so excited to travel and see the world with her. So that's number 1. Number 2, Corey and I are doing a pesto making class in Cinque Terre, like on one of the villages with the most beautiful views. So I'm definitely excited for our pesto making class as well. And then the third thing is I think I'm just excited to be back to Europe with Corey. Corey and I have not been to Europe together since 2019 pre-COVID when we traveled Europe for 3 weeks together as well. So I'm just excited to get back to Europe with Corey. It's gonna be so fun. We're gonna get the Europe travel bug again. Then we're gonna have the Disney bug and the Europe bug, and it's just gonna be really hard to try to pick and choose. Maybe we'll combine the 2 and do a little Euro Disney. So that's what I'm most excited for. The next question was cost. I want to go to Greece so bad, just have no idea how to afford it. In terms of cost, this is something that I'm very fortunate for with work because they pay for the front load and they also pay for my flights. So when it comes to cost, we're only paying, well, Corey's only paying for his flight, and then everything that we're doing in, you know, Europe, of course, when we're together, just the 2 of us, we're paying for. I would say, to give a ballpark, I am gonna actually do an entire cost breakdown of Corey and I's week in Italy trip in a separate video, but based off what we've already booked and little things that we're doing, Corey's flight plus our Airbnb plus we already have booked, we're probably looking at about $4,000, maybe $3,000 for everything. I have to look at the math, and that's not per person. That's just like in total. So again, I'm gonna do an entire cost breakdown of like our Corey's flight, my one internal flight, because my work flights are paid for. So I'll do an entire cost breakdown. I will share. What do you look for when booking an Airbnb abroad? The first thing I look for is just location, location, location. I wanna be close to whatever I can be. If I'm never gonna go back to this city again, I wanna be close. I want it to be accessible to public transportation. So that's the first one, is anything near public transportation is super important. And the second thing is I am looking for a nice, good quality. I know some people are like, oh, it's just a place to rest your head, but it really is your home away from home. And when you're traveling abroad, you want to try to feel as homey as possible. So I look for things that feel really homey and in a really good location, if possible. If possible, I look for a washer and dryer depending on how long I'm traveling for. Because I have a little bit of a break in between, I'll be able to do some laundry, but normally when I'm looking at an Airbnb abroad, I look for you know, a washer and dryer if possible as well, because depending on how long you're going for and if you're bringing a carry-on, you might want to wash your clothes. So I would say that is important too. Lots of questions on dealing with jet lag. How do you handle the time change and the jet lag? A lot around jet lag. First things first is when you go from so I'll give my example. I'm going from Boston overnight to Munich and then Munich to Milan. That second travel day, like the day that you wake up and you're in Europe, the day is gonna be hard. Like, it's a hard day. My biggest recommendation to you is do not nap, do not sleep, fight through, and go to bed around 9:30 at night, and you will sleep through the entire night. I guarantee it. You have to keep yourself awake. That is one way to deal with jet lag, because you can break your body's cycle almost instantly if you just exhaust yourself throughout the entire day. If you get to your hotel at 3 o'clock and you sleep, and then you wake up at 9 o'clock, let me tell you, you're cooked. You've absolutely already ruined it. You're already like 4 steps behind the 8 ball. So I would say my biggest recommendation is push through that first day, because if you can do that, you're in much better shape. And the second thing is just try to relax and rest your body and get ready for bed maybe a little bit earlier than you would think. So around 8:30, 9 o'clock, maybe read, do something that's gonna tire your eyes out, you know, take a nice shower, wash the day away, and just get your body ready for a really good night's sleep. That's how I deal with jet lag. I am fortunate enough that I do travel a good amount, so the jet lag comes a little bit more normal and more natural to me now. However, the way that I kick the jet lag is don't sleep right away and just have a really nice relaxing routine as you're getting into bed your first night, because then you'll sleep through the night and you'll kick the jet lag. The next was tips for long haul flights and tips for getting around without speaking the language. So let's start with tips for long haul flights. The first thing that I recommend is there's kind of 2 ways to look at a long haul flight. Your flight going overnight is very different than your long haul flight coming back. My first tip that I have, and I'll give one for each, for your overnight flight is watch a movie, eat your dinner, go to bed. Try as best as you can to fall asleep, rest on the plane. If you're awake for the 5-6 hour flight, or even longer in some cases overnight, you're gonna struggle the next day, right? You need your body to rest, tire yourself out during the day, because it's gonna help you sleep on the plane at night. Some people can pop, you know, a melatonin, NyQuil, whatever that, not NyQuil, that's the one with the medicine, but like melatonin, ZQuil, and hopefully sleep. I can't, I just normally rest my body. I download like 2 or 3 podcasts and I sleep with them while, you know, my headphones are on, or I plug my, you know, headphones into the jack and I watch a movie and fall asleep. That's what I would recommend first for that flight. The second flight, however, is make sure that you have 2 or 3 different things to keep you occupied. That even can just be with the screen monitor, but really breaking up the flight with different things, right? So are you gonna watch one movie for 2 hours? Then you've got a game downloaded on your phone. Maybe you've got a coloring book, a deck of cards to play some hand card games, whatever that might be. Give yourself 2 to 3 things to do during the flight. That way you can switch it up. My things that I always bring on flight with me is my Kindle or a book so I can read, my air fryer, my headphones so I can watch a movie, and I always download 3 podcasts as well so I can get those in, you know, my brain. It's very much like listening and relaxing, reading, watching a movie. They're 3 different acts, but they'll keep you occupied and kind of keep you entertained for those long haul flights. And then the next was tips for getting around when you can't speak the language. My biggest recommendation is, depending on where you're going, try to learn 3 to 5 basic phrases and write them down in your notes app. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, thank you very much, may I, please, thank you, all those kinds of things, those basic, you know, generic welcoming statements are really good. You know, we as Americans need to be better about not just everyone is gonna know English, just like it's important, like we're going into their country, we're going into their homes where they live. It is important that you try your absolute best to at least say hello, good morning, good afternoon, in their language. So I would say tips for getting around without speaking the language: do a little bit of research on your own before you go to learn a few key phrases. For the most part, people are pretty good about understanding English, which we're very fortunate for here as Americans, that our primary language is English and it's very much wide spoken. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure on the iPhone you can actually get the app that does translate, so you can maybe, you know, type in some things and do your best to try to translate to them in their language if you're struggling. But just do your best, be patient, be kind getting around without the language, because it is not anyone else's problem to learn English, just like we would never go and learn their language. So be kind, be patient, be understanding, do your best. Don't be that snot rag American that's like mad that someone doesn't know English, because it's not their thing. They don't need to know it. We are coming into their home and their country, so do a little bit of due diligence and research a little bit of their language. The next question was, do you bring cash with you or use only card? So I do bring both. I will bring, normally when I get to the airport, I'll take out, or beforehand, I don't have time this upcoming Europe trip because it just didn't fit into the schedule. But beforehand, when I do go to Europe, I will go to the bank and take out anywhere from like 200 to 300 euros in, you know, I'm going only to like Europe. When you're in, you know, England, they use the pound, other places use different things, but Europe uses the euro. And I'll normally take out anywhere from 200 to 300 euro to start. The reason I do that is because some little gelato places, kiosks, little things like that may only take your euros. They might not want to use your card, or you might not have the ability to use a card. And sometimes cash is just a little bit more easy and more frequented to use. You know, you're getting a $3 gelato. It's easy to just, you know, use cash, use coins, whatever that might be. So I normally take out about 200 to 300 euro at the start of the trip. And I try not to go through the cash. I try to very much like weigh and distribute. If Rachel and I are going to lunch and it's a $50 lunch and they take card, I'll use my card. If I'm at a street vendor and I'm buying an oil painting, I'll use 30 euros, right? So I think it's just like navigating where to use what is important. Another tip, bring a coin purse. Europe has $2 and $3 and $1. Their dollar is a coin. So you can have $5 back and get 5 coins. And normally in America, we just throw our change in our bag. That's big money when you're there. So I always bring a coin purse and keep it in my bag, so it's just easily accessible as well. What's your biggest international traveling tip? I mentioned a few already. What I'm gonna do is, there was a ton of that, what I'm realizing now. I'm gonna do an entire separate video on my like 10 top international travel tips. That would be a really fun kind of like closing out the European summer series, or just like throughout the next few months as I travel a lot more. So again, some of those big tips, like make sure you have a coin purse, you know, be kind, learn a little bit of the language, pack light and smart, be flexible. Those are just a few, but I'll do an entire video on like my top 10 international travel tips, because I think that could be a fun video. My dad is so cute. Please try all the ice cream and gelato and report on which is the best in the area / country, Dado. Love you. Yes, I'll be trying all the gelato, all the ice cream, all the pastries, all the everything. That's my favorite thing about Europe, is getting gelato and just like their native, you know, pastry, like a croissant in France. I'm so excited for, like, oh, I cannot wait. The next question was tips for navigating public transportation. I am so bad about navigating public transportation. Let me tell you, that is Corey's lifeline to our partnership. When we are in Europe, when we are in Disney, when we are domestic, anywhere, the only public transit that I can navigate like the back of my hand is the Boston train, because I grew up with the MBTA when we were there for 4.5, 5 years when we lived in Boston. However, the subway I'm not good at. The metro in Paris is hard. Corey's like second native language is the tube in London. He's so good about navigating that. So my tips for navigating public transportation, number 1, be kind and patient with yourself, because it can be very challenging. Number 2 is do your research beforehand. Look up where you need to go. Look on TikTok, Instagram, blog posts, YouTube, whatever that might be, on how people are navigating getting around, because a lot of people go very in depth while they're vlogging, while they're traveling, on how they get around places. I'll be doing that because it was hard for me to figure out how to navigate getting from Milan to Cinque Terre, but we ended up figuring out a way with the train on like TikTok or something. So I'm going to share that in my vlog as well. But just doing your research, number 1. And number 2, a lot of apps will sometimes, like even on Google Maps, you can, or not Google Maps, but Safari, you can type in, you know, say that's your Airbnb location, and on the bottom you type in, you know, Buckingham Palace. Let's say you're in England. If you click, instead of like drive, you click the toggle down and put public transportation, it will give you a step-by-step guide on how to do and get to where you're going. So I'd recommend looking into that. What luggage, bags, etc. are you bringing? I'm actually gonna do an entire pack and prep with me vlog, which I'm so excited for, filming that in a few days. But in terms of bags that I'm bringing the bigger size of the Away carry-on. I love that bag. It is awesome for travel. And then I'm bringing my large Dagny Dover duffel bag as my personal item. And then I believe that I'm gonna bring 2 of my easy like roll-up bags I just got from Amazon I'll share, and then I also am able to either bring like a tote bag or my skinny little backpack and then one other purse. I'll wrap it all up in bags and I'll pack it, and I'll show you guys how I pack that. But I normally don't bring a lot of like purses or bags. I try to stick to 1 or 2, and I don't bring anything unless it's got a zipper or a lock of some sort and it's not just a drop-in, because Europe is full of pickpocketers and thieves, and like the main tourist locations, they're picking at your bag, they're cutting the side of your bag to get your stuff. So not to scare you, but you need to have things with zippers and things that can be close to your chest. Lululemon fanny pack is great. I'll be sharing the links to my bags I just got from Amazon in my pack and prep with me, so I'll make sure to have those linked below as well. But that's what I'm bringing for bags and whatnot. Recs for first time international travelers, places looking for honeymoon ideas. I think Italy is so romantic. It's so beautiful, especially in like May and September. They're a little bit off-season months. It's beautiful. The weather is nice. It is just a fabulous, romantic, beautiful destination. I also think that Greece, I went to Greece and it was truly like a fairy tale. I think it also depends on what do you want. Do you want a little bit of adventure? Do you want more beach time? What kind of a honeymoon are you looking for? Do you want a mix of both? If that's the case, you know, I think like if you want to be on the water and be, you know, in a bathing suit and you want to have some rest and relaxation time, Italy is beautiful, Greece is beautiful. Those are 2 great locations on the water. Also, Spain is absolutely fabulous, and they also have a little bit more of adventure. If you're looking for predominantly, you know, adventure and travel and deep dive and a little bit more landlocked, London is beautiful, Scotland is beautiful, Ireland is beautiful. You're not going to be sitting on a beach there, but you're going to have a ton of adventure time, which is also really cool. So those are just a few destinations I would say in Europe that I really love. I've never been to Ireland or Scotland, but Corey has, and he said it's absolutely stunning and so beautiful. So I would say those are a few really fun destinations. Next one is best shoes for lots of walking. Late November in the UK, Germany, and Switzerland. So I'm assuming you're going on a trip. I'm so excited for you in late November. I bring normally 2 shoes with me. I bring 1 pair of like athletic sneakers just because they're easy for long travel days when you're running around the airport. I just feel like they're more comfortable on my feet. So I always bring a pair of my Adidas Ultra Boost with me. Those are the ones I'm going to bring with me this summer. And then the second pair of shoes that I always bring with me are my Adidas Stan Smiths. They're very comfortable. You can even stick some of like the memory foam padding in them. I would not recommend bringing like a cutie sandal unless you've broken them in and it's 1 pair and they're very comfortable. Europe is full of a lot of walking, and if you're going in late November, it's gonna be chilly. So I'd recommend just like a comfortable sneaker. No one's looking at your feet. And to be quite honest with you, Europeans wear not like necessarily athletic sneakers, but very much like a Stan Smith, a Veja, a white little sneaker. And that's like what they walk around with. Or that like New Balance, not like track shoe, but very similar to like a fun sneaker. That's how people wear their clothes and like what they wear in Europe. So that's what I would recommend there. And then the last question was, do you like to stay in hotels or Airbnb when traveling in Europe? I like to stay in both, and it depends on what the day is bringing. I'll give you the perfect example for Corey and I's trip. So Corey and I, because Corey is meeting me, Corey is going from Boston to Milan on the 18th or 17th and like meeting me that day. His flight lands at 10 a.m. I am going from Berlin to Milan. I land at noon. That day, normally Airbnb check-ins, you can't check into an Airbnb until anywhere from like 3 to 4 o'clock. Because we are coming from the airport, it makes more sense for the hotel to be able to hold our bags. So for that, we're gonna stay in a hotel. When we go to Cinque Terre, we're staying in Rio Maggiore. We are very excited about that. We wanted an Airbnb for that because we wanted to be able to have just a little bit more like space and a more homey feel than just a transactional hotel. We were also looking for something with a balcony to see the view, so we did get that as well. But I think it really depends. If we are going from like, depending on the time of our flight, right? If we were getting in at 3:30, then absolutely we could have looked into an Airbnb, but it was just easier to do a hotel, in and out, can hold our bags, you know, there's breakfast sometimes included. So it's just easier for us because of our 2 stationary days in Milan. It's easier for us to do a hotel, but not all the time. It depends. When we went to Europe in 2019, we did half hotel, half Airbnb. The other thing is when I'm looking at Airbnbs, I want them to be nice. And if I feel like I'm not finding a good Airbnb for exactly what we're looking for, then I'll shift over to hotel. And that's just kind of how it works for him and I and our travel style, because we like upgraded, but we're by no means staying at like the Ritz. Let's make that clear, because that's, you know, expensive, and we're also trying to do certain things on a budget and certain things a little bit more expensive and high end. So we find a happy mix, but It really does depend. And with that being said, you guys, that is gonna end this pre-Europe Q&A. I am so excited to finally get to Europe, to take you all along. This trip is gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be exciting, it's gonna be adventurous, and let me tell you, we're gonna have an absolute killer time, and I'm so excited. So with that being said, if you've made it this far, please give the video a big thumbs up. I am so excited for our European adventures together this summer, and we've got a lot more in the European summer series on the way, so get excited. But if you're new, subscribe. We would love to have you stick around, join our beautiful little corner of the internet over here. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.